Gaylord Opryland Resort Hotel. We held our first induction with 3 of the 7 charter members of the Tennessee Golf Hall of Fame. Lou Graham, Mason Rudolph, and Dudley Waxo Green were inducted in front of an audience of about the same size as is here tonight. I could never be so bold or humorous as was Waxo Green when he stood up and addressed the crowd. He said, "This honor tonight is most well-deserved." My job is to speak, your job is to listen. If you don't understand that, the exit doors are right there in the back of the room. Dudley was a dear, dear friend and has brought back so many memories. The former CEO of a great Nashville corporation, when he was being honored, said the pillars of his success were preparation, education, and a supportive family. It's not what an individual achieves, but rather teamwork, vision, and submerging your ego for the good of your colleagues. I read that and I thought, boy, that's it for me. He described it much better than I could possibly figure out. Joe Taggart, who we all need to pray for, got up at his induction ceremony and said, "Tonight's not so much about a person as it is about the game of golf. It's brought us all together. It's been relationships, it's been fun, it's been heartbreak, but that's really what we're all here about, not so much for one of its servants, but really for the game of it itself." To the fellow 50 Hall of Fame members ahead of me, what an honor it is for me to be able to list my name alongside of yours. You're everything that's good about the game of golf. You're generous, you're kind, you're skillful, you're dedicated, you've given more than you've taken. And if I can paraphrase from one of the great philosophers and coaches of all time, Coach Butch Jones, I would say that Hall of Fame members, you are champions of life. For me, I've never had a job, and I've never gone to work for one day in my life. Shouldn't we all be so blessed to have that opportunity as a career? I certainly love what I do, have done, and there are more people more deserving than I am of this honor tonight, but there are certainly none more appreciative of it, and thank you very much. Tonight's an opportunity for me to share a lot of things. Certainly one is our standard of cooperative culture. It's what makes good companies work. It's what makes marriages and families work. And I didn't really come up with that idea of having a cooperative culture with everybody all together. The Tennessee Golf Association was a small organization, held tournaments. The Tennessee section had about 150 members, the same, and neither had the means to hire anybody full-time. It just worked out that way, that the only way we could really make things work were to have a cooperative culture among all the stakeholders. It began with Lou Conner legally, and then the great Mike Kaplan, who we dearly miss, was an absolute master at crafting partnerships, doing bylaws, putting together formats that worked for all of the stakeholders. And probably his greatest achievement, I think, was when we merged the Women's Tennessee Golf Association. They had been in existence for 56 years. The Men's Tennessee Golf Association, they had been in existence for 85 years. And the way Mike crafted the merger, I can assure you that it has been envied by many across the country, but achieved by few. And that really wasn't me. That was Mike putting the words and deeds together, and me just getting the chance to implement it. Dan, congratulations tonight on your honor. Dan is one of those individuals that understood the cooperative culture. He weighed in very early on junior golf in the first tee. And in 2008, when we split my position up into 3 jobs, the foundation was pretty healthy. The PGA was healthy. Their national organization does a great job of supporting each of their 41 sections. But the group that got left and hurt in the economy of 2008 was the Tennessee Golf Association. So Dan took on the juniors early, but then he put the TGA on his back and took them to the promised land in terms of being financially solvent. And so today we've got 3 organizations that work very hard, but their business is sound, and we're very thankful for individuals such as Dan that stepped up and helped us do that. I'm thankful to God and His plan for me, for my family. 1973 on, I could not have had a better, more supportive family. I met my wife Connie of 44 years in golf, through golf. I'll have to tell a story. Tonight is all really about, for me, is about stories, and I appreciate your indulging me. I read in my quiet time this week that there was a lady that said, the shortest point between 2 hearts is a great story. And I said, that's just what I needed. I'm going to tell a bunch of them tonight. David Owen was a golf professional at Hillwood. He said, look, anytime you want to come over and play golf, I know you're not a member of the club, but just come on over after work and be my guest. So I showed up at about 5:45 at Hillwood, and there was only one, there was a lady in the shop. It was this really attractive blonde. And I said, David Owen invited me out here to play, and she said, are you going to walk or ride? And I said, well, it'd be okay if I rode. And she kind of rolled her eyes. I didn't understand that, and gave me the keys to the car, and I went out and I played till dark. Well, what I didn't know, and I found out later, was that if nobody took a card after 5:30 on Friday, you could close the golf shop at 6 and leave 2.5 hours early on a Friday night. And so she was not really thrilled with my arrival there. So about a week later, I called her and asked her if she'd like to go on a date, and she said no, she was busy. So I called David. I said, David, look, is Connie, does she have a regular boyfriend or something? She said, no, she's not dating anyone. So I called her again, and she said, no, I'm busy. And so in the interim, her mother, Honey, who we dearly love, and left us at age 92, Honey advised, said, look, Connie, I know the guy's from New York. I know he's a Yankee. You won't have anything to talk about. Just go ahead, let him buy you a nice dinner, and then you'll be done with him. And so we're still hanging in there. But, my family is here with me tonight. Connie's here, daughter Margaret, son-in-law Brad, our twin 9-year-olds, Brooks and Maddie. What a great joy, what a great love. And Connie, thank you for everything good that I've done. Trust me, was not me. I had somebody behind me that would dress me, that would tell me what to say, would tell me what not to say, would tell me where to sit, would coach me up on manners. Bill Green alluded, I went to Wake Forest, and I had a rude awakening at Wake Forest. I got a date for the first football game, and we drove into the football stadium and got out of the car and headed to the stadium, and I was about 75 yards toward the stadium when I realized that my date was still sitting in the car waiting for me to open the door inside. So I survived that and made it all the way through and became Southernized. The officers of the PGA and the officers of the TGA, I had 18 different presidents in the Tennessee Section PGA in 35 years, 16 amateur presidents. Lex Trumians reminded me that he did a double duty. And Lex, I'll get to you a little bit here in just a minute. But you all gave me a great opportunity to to try to make golf the best it could be, and thank you for trusting in me. I think it's pretty amazing that some of the people that hired me in 1973, now I sent in a resume in November, I never got an answer or anything, and then I get a call in February from a man named Bill Hunt, who became a great friend from Bristol, and he said, this was on a Friday, and he said, we've got your resume here. We're on Monday at 9 o'clock in the morning at Bellmead Country Club in Nashville. We're going to interview. If you're interested, you can come on and interview with us. I said, sure, I'll be there. And I looked at the map. It was 18-and-a-half-hour drive from Hamilton, New York to Nashville. I got here. I stayed at the Anchor Motel. Now, I see some, I had no idea. It was a flop house. It was $18 a night. And I knew I had an interview the next day. I walked into Willie's shop. Willie was there, a beautiful shop. I'd never seen a shop as nice as Bellmead Country Club. Willie was busy, and I said, I'm here for an interview tomorrow. And Willie said, well, good, we'll see you at 9 o'clock, and just turned around and left. I'd driven 18 hours to get there. I thought, well, this is going to be real fun. So, but the amazing thing was Willie was there in that interview. Pat Barrier, who's with us tonight, was there in that interview. Bill Garner, who's here with us tonight, was in that interview. And Joe Taggart, who's going to get better from that heart attack, is still with us. That was my interview committee. I was the fifth one. The four of them in front of me all had either been cast aside, or I think, or just said, man, that's not a job for me. So I asked, I said, well, what's the job description here? And Bill Garner was the master of money. Bill had the best job in Tennessee by far at Windeye Country Club. And Bill spoke up and he said, your job's real easy. He said, your job is to put money in the bank and our job is to spend it. I said, okay. Is this a full-time job or a part-time job? And he said, well, the salary is $7,000. We have $3,500 in the bank. And then he calls everybody Hoss. He says, so Hoss, let me tell you. He said, if you raise $3,500 in your first 6 months, then I guess it's a full-time job. Otherwise, it's a part-time job. So off we went. Selling handicaps was first. I'll never forget, the pros assessed everybody, head pros $50 and $25 for assistance to hire a position, hired me. So I walked into Lake Tansy Golf Shop. Sam Hicks was a pro. And I said, Mr. Hicks, my name's Dick Horton, I'm your new executive director. And he didn't even look up from the counter. He said, so you're my $50. I said, yes, sir, this is gonna be good. But we did okay. The cooperative culture, again, is something that I think we all look back on, and it was absolutely the right thing to do. Some of my favorite stories and some of my favorite memories of the 45 years certainly have to begin with Jack Lupton and being a mentor of his for the time that we had together. I had an idea, Golf House, Tennessee, didn't know if it would take or not. So Lex Tremians, who's here tonight, Lex said, I'll arrange a meeting with Jack. Archie Ellis, who's here tonight, said, I'll coach you up for the meeting. Lex said, look, let me give you a couple hints here. Jack can have good days and bad days. He said, you might be in there 10 minutes or you might be in there an hour. If he dismisses you in 10 minutes, it's nothing personal. And Archie said, look, get everything ready. You need to be really organized. You need to know exactly how much money you want to ask him for and be able to show him why. So sure enough, I was in Jack's office about 10, 12 minutes into the conversation. He says, well, what's all this going to cost? And I knew the time of reckoning was at hand. And I said, Mr. Lupton, it's going to be $2.5 million. And he immediately starts going, I guess I thought, I'm out of here. This is it. He says, no, it's not. It's going to cost you $5 million. And he said, I've done this before for charitable groups and organizations and built good things. And he said, it's just going to cost you twice as much as you thought it would in the beginning. You're going to think of things you wanted to do it right. He said, it's going to cost you $5 million. And he said, I'd like to help you. So go home and put a team together and come back and show me what you want to do. So that team was Bob Cupp, the wonderful architect, the late Bob Cupp, and Billy Fuller. Bob came to us and said, I'll do the golf course under one condition. It's my gift to Tennessee golf, and you can't pay me for it. I went to Dick Miller and I said, and by the way, Dick is here tonight. Dick designed this entire Gaylord Opryland Hotel Resort. Dick, magnificent. Dick said, I'm on board, our team will do the entire architectural design work, and I'm on the same fee basis as Bob Cupp. This will be my gift to Tennessee Golf. So we go down to Jack's office. We've got, man, these guys have put together unbelievable presentations. So Cupp rolls out his design for the little course, and I see Jack starting to shake his head. And he says, Cupp, I thought you were good. And Bob said, I am. And he said, what I'm looking at here, he said, a 9-iron, a wedge, and a putter. That's all I'm going to need to play this golf course. Can't you make something that I can hit every club in my bag? And so Cupp looks at him and he says, okay, Jack. He said, I got 13 acres to build a 9-hole regulation golf course. And he starts fooling around and he puts some double greens in and some tees. And finally he said, well, I got one hole at 226 and another at 190. And Jack says, you're pretty good. So he said, and Dick, what about you? And Dick said, well, I've got this golf house design where we're going to have two-floor dormitory. I've got 10 beds on each floor. We'll put 4 kids to a room. We've got bathrooms, and we've got a cafeteria all set up. And Jack says, well, what's all that going to cost? And Dick says, we got it budgeted out at about $3 million. Jack starts shaking his head again. I knew what was coming. He said, no, we need to cut that in half. And Dick looks over at me and he said, Dick, do you think we can put 8 to a room instead of 4 and have a college dormitory-like deal where you got a men's bathroom with multiple showers and girls the same? I said, yes, sir. We were at Fall Creek Falls, and we used to have 48 in one room. So this will be a treat. So I see Dick. He's over there working things around, and the next thing I know, Dick says, I've got it down to $1.5 million. Well, Jack looks at his watch. We're all sitting there waiting to see what he's going to do. He looks at his watch, pushes his chair, stands up, and says, gentlemen, I've got a lunch across the street I need to be at. Let's build it, and just walks out and just leaves us all sitting in that room. And Bob Cupp speaks up and he says, what are we waiting for? Let's get started. So that was the beginning of Golf House. We had some other, Jack called me later and said, I kind of left you hanging there. He said, I'm going to put up about $1.5 million or $2 million. Can you raise the rest? And I said, yes, sir, we can. I had no idea if we could, but I told him we could. And he said, just call Rachel Reagan in my office and she'll work out the finances. So I called Rachel and I said, she said, well, how much money do you need and when do you need it? And I said, well, we can split it over 2 years. I imagine Jack maybe for tax purposes wants to divide it into 2 years. And she says, honey, you don't need to worry about Mr. Lupton's taxes. So she said, why don't I just do this? Why don't I send you $200,000 a month until you tell me to stop? I said, whoa, I think that's So we were off and running. Mike Barron, who's with us tonight, had a fledgling contractor business. He was a good friend from church, and he was going to do all of our work. And so he came over to me when we were knee-deep after we kind of priced things out. He said, Dick, I really hate that he has to do this, but he said, I've got to know you've got the ability to pay for this. And I said, okay, I'm going to call Jack Lupton and ask him if his credit's any good. So I called Jack and he understood. He said, yeah, that's a reasonable request. I'll take care of it. So 2 days later, I got a letter in the mail. It says, Dear Dick, you are authorized to spend $2.5 million to build Golf House, Tennessee. Sincerely, Jack. So I take this letter to Mike. I said, Mike, here's what I got. And Mike says, I'll start tomorrow morning. So Mike, thank you. Kind of try to do in rapid succession. The Special Olympic National Invitational Tournament was a thing of great pride, I think. We had Nissan to sponsor the event for 3 years, and we made a deal with the PGA of America that if we did it for 3 years, they would take it from on the 4th year and make it a national championship. And I'm delighted to tell you that in September of this year, after this will be the 20th anniversary, the National Invitational for Special Olympics will return to the Hermitage Golf Course and Mike Eller's golf course. So Mike, thank you, and couldn't be more proud of that. A couple of the other things one of the things Jack had told me was, he said, Dick, you need to go talk to Scotty Probasco. I think he'll help us in this project. So I went and talked to Scotty, and Scotty said, absolutely. But he said, there's one more person you need to go talk to, and that's in your hometown, and his name is David Ingram. And David, this is a great chance for me to thank you for a long, long time of support. But I talked to David, and David ultimately became, for 17 years, our chairman of our investment committee. The Golf Club of Tennessee is a magnificent facility. The Vinny was really, David has been the underpinning of that for us for many years. And throughout the first 17 or 18 years, David helped us keep up our property. And that's tough money to raise when you've got to raise air conditioners and roofs and painting and carpeting. David was there for that. But the thing I most admire David about, and David was always, he always gave credit to his dad because he knew that his dad had been successful and that he was the beneficiary of that. But he was his own man, and he did his own business. But when David was a teenager, we were playing a state amateur at Jackson Country Club, 72-hole stroke play tournament, last day, back 9. David's right there in the lead, near the lead, knocks it deep in the woods. We find it. David goes in there and plays it. And when he comes out, he announces to his fellow competitors that when he was addressing the ball, it moved, and that he would have to assess himself. He would have to assess himself a penalty. That cost David the tournament. He lost by a shot or maybe 2, but that told me more about golf, what we did, what we taught our young people coming up as juniors, and I'll never forget that lesson. And I think that's what we're all here about. As it was mentioned earlier, it's a game we play that is self-policing. Man, I wouldn't want to be a referee in the NFL, the NBA, college basketball, replays, push the limit, see how much you can get away with. Truly, we've just got the best sport you can have, and it's a sport of a lifetime. Vinny Links, thanks to Jim Fike and Dick Miller again, Mike Green, Billy Fuller. We had 5 donors that gifted us over $1 million to build the Vinny Links. It's a Donald Ross inspired golf course. All 9 greens are on a golf course that he designed in 1921, but in Shelby Park, and never built it. But it was Billy's brilliance to create those greens. Then having Vince and Amy and President George W.H. Bush and Barbara come for the opening day and the christening ceremony of the first tee at the Vinny Links. What a thrill that was for us, and the first tee of Tennessee is still healthy and operating. What a thrill it was for me to be on Jack's board of directors for the Arnold Palmer Golf Company. Jack bought the company when it was a public company, took it private. He was good friends with Arnold at Augusta National. And I'll never forget, we were in the boardroom. He added Nancy Lopez to the board. And Jack said, I know a lot about brand names. Coca-Cola's pretty good, and Arnold Palmer's pretty good. I think we can really make a go of this. And so about the second meeting, he said, I'm not sure I understand this golf business. He said, we go to this big show in Orlando in January. All the pros order this merchandise. We deliver it to them in April. Then in September, if they don't sell it, they ship it back to us. He said, when I was delivering Coca-Cola, we'd take 100 cases into a store and we'd either leave with cash or a check. He said, I don't know about this golf business. I said, well, that's the way it operates. Unfortunately, $50 million later, we kind of gave up the dream. But it was a dream come true for me to sit on a board with Arnold Palmer and Nancy Lopez. They're unbelievable people. They're just like everybody in this audience if you ever had a chance to meet them and be around them. And for me, just a little old kid from Hamilton, New York, to sit in there and do that was just the experience of a lifetime. We were with him on his 85th birthday at Latrobe. Jim was there, Lori was there. It was a memory that was just unbelievable. And he was everything, again, that represents what's good in the game. Getting a chance to see my daughter Margaret play in 2 USGA National Championships, one at the Vanderbilt Legends Club, and then the 50th anniversary of the girls junior at the fabled Marion Golf Club. We spent a whole week there. Sweetie, you were great. That was fun. Joseph Brown is here tonight, and you don't know Joseph, but when he stands up, you'll sure recognize him at about 6'5", 250. Joseph Brown came to us as a teenager in the First Tee program. Joseph had a very difficult family life and situation, and the First Tee was a great outlet for him. And we adopted him, and he adopted us. He moved all the way up to the ace level. He went to college, started at Memphis, and then transferred. He, along with Kyle Harris, Kyle's not here tonight with us, I wish he was, but they both got full scholarships at Fisk University last May. Both of them graduated with a 4-year degree, and both of them today work for us at the First Tee of Tennessee. Joseph, where are you? The Screaming Eagle Pro-Am, and we're here at Opryland. We had a big soldiers program. It was really important to us, and Colin Reed hosted 25 soldiers and their families. We played golf at Gaylord. They all came to the Grand Ole Opry in their uniforms. Little Jimmy Dickens was the host, along with Colin. Luke Connor was also the host, but that's another story. Anyways, the highlight of that evening was an 8.5-minute standing ovation for those soldiers in uniform. And today we're, any child at Fort Campbell, any son or daughter of any soldier at Fort Campbell can come and spend a week with us at golf camp at Golf House, Tennessee, at no cost at all to the family. All they've got to do is get there. So thank you all for helping us make that just about ready to wrap it up. Richard Stuttaford and Edward Playfair from the Royal and Ancient Golf Club of St. Andrews are here tonight. Richard was my sponsor in that. He's originally from South Africa, now lives here in Nashville. And Richard, I'll be forever indebted to you for that. It was a 6-year venture into the RNA. The U.S. has a quota of 250 American members, and you have to wait till a spot comes up. And if you turn age 60, even though you've been approved, if you turn age 60 before a spot comes up, you're out. And we were right on the button. We made it with a few months to spare, and but they usually don't let you clear waivers unless they're pretty sure you're going to make it in. But that's been a highlight of my golf career, to go over there every year and be a part of that. It really is a unique organization, and as I told a lot of people, I said, I don't have the royal part down, but I'm getting the ancient part pretty quickly. Billy and Ginger Maxwell are here tonight. Billy Maxwell, most of you don't know Billy. Billy was a head golf professional at Fall Creek Falls State Park. I spent 87 weeks of my life at Fall Creek Falls. Weeks. That's a year and a half. And Billy was there and hosted me and watched out for me. And we had over 4,000 young people come through camp there. Probably some of your children, some of your grandchildren, maybe even some of you here tonight were at that camp. But we owe a great debt of gratitude to Billy Maxwell for putting up with us, one, but to have 48 kids for 5 weeks in the summer running around on your golf course was a monumental task. And Billy, I thank you, and I'd like everybody to give him a hand because he's never really The chairman that I've served under, Willie and Lou, alternated in the early years, and then Bill Green took it over, followed by Kirk and Jim. I couldn't have asked for better leadership. I love Bill Green. I said, Bill, what do you want to see us do with this foundation? He said, that's real simple. He said, you just come to work every day and make me look good. And I thought, man, what is he talking about? Well, I finally figured out, we were looking, if we were doing good, he was looking good, and you know the rest of the story. So all of my chairmen and that, I thank you so much, all of our board members. Our staff has been unbelievable. You heard some of the longevity of it. I'd like particularly to thank the ones that were mentioned that have been there so long. Lynn Howd, Connie Pierce, Barbara Searcy, Alyssa Bradford. Special thanks to Connie. We hired her when she was 12 years old. She's still working for us. And you've been great. You've covered my back. You've been loyal. You take great pride in your work, which is something that you never, ever waver on. You produced every single one of these Hall of Fame induction ceremonies as our curator. And Connie, thank you, and I'd like to give her a big round of applause. We've had a lot of our staff move on to some really fine positions. Mark Hill is one of the top 5 executives in the USGA now, and Mark, you've always been one of my favorites. So great to see you. He made the trip all the way here while the USGA annual meeting is going on this weekend, somewhere in another part of the country. But in addition to Mark, Jim Webb was deputy commissioner of the LPGA for over 20 years. We've also had Jeff Abbott. Jeff is the executive director of the Carolina section, largest section in the country. I'm going to find my notes here so I don't really leave anyone out, but we've had, Bill Coomer's here from Kentucky, Robert Duke from Colorado, Carl McCullough from Louisiana State Golf Association, Tracy Parsons is at the USGA. The executive director of the East Lake First Tee started with us, Nairi Williams. The list is pretty long, and I'm really, really proud of all of those people for the jobs they've done and gone on and kind of carried Jack's tradition on. That was, when I asked Jack, I said, what's going to make you feel like your investment's been worth it? He said, 2 things. He said, first of all, that the young people that play golf appreciate the adults that gave them the opportunity and say thank you, and then that 49 other states copy what we're doing in Tennessee. And I think we've lived up to that mission, and we'll live up to it under Whit. I'm absolutely thrilled that Whit is our new president. I guess as anybody would worry about something you created and where it was going to go, we absolutely could never have found a person with the skills that Whit had. I mean, he grew up in golf. He's the perfect age for it. He's got fundraising skills. He's a Christian man. And all of those things that we wanted to check the boxes off. And we had some good candidates. A couple of those others are in the room, and we'd have been fine with everybody. But Whit just had just a little bit extra for us, and he's going to do great. In closing, I'd like to, 2 things, thank all those clubs. I'm America's guest when it comes to club memberships. Richland, the Grove, the Vanderbilt Legends Club, the Whittemore Family and Nashville Golf and Athletic Club, Golf Club of Tennessee, the Honors, the Old Farm, and John McNeely is here with Congaree Golf Club, which is really a neat and special place. And I'm so blessed to have had all of you take me in and give me a chance to enjoy your wonderful facilities. And I hope I can represent you well from now through the rest of the time that I have. In closing tonight, we're beginning our 28th year as a foundation. I looked on our records on January 1st, and we have had 4,797 individual contributors and donors to the Tennessee Golf Foundation for a grand total of $32,088,000. This association is yours, it's not mine. Thank you so much, and God bless each one of you.